In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build a complete UK payroll system in Excel for the 2026-2027 tax year. We'll go through everything from setting up your employees to calculating pay-as-you-earn tax, national insurance, pension deductions, and finally generating a payslip and dashboard. Please feel free to skip to the sections you are most interested in. The timestamps are below. This is perfect if you are a small business owner or if you just want to understand how payroll actually works behind the scenes. You can download the exact template I'm using in this video, link in the description. Now, before we start calculating anything, we need to have a clean structure to store our employee information. This is important because in real payroll systems, everything flows from employee data. So I've created a sheet and called it staff setup. We have the following columns. The employee ID column. This is a unique reference for each employee. It helps us link data across sheets without confusion. Employee name. This is simply the employee's full name and used for identification and reporting. But just a quick note, these employee names are made up and used only for this example. Annual salary. This is the employee's gross yearly salary before any deductions. So we'll use this to calculate monthly pay. Tax code. This determines how much income tax is deducted. For example, 1257L gives the standard personal allowance. The NI category, this defines how national insurance is calculated. Most employees fall under category A. Pension percentage. This is the percentage of salary the employee contributes to their pension each month. Student loan plan, one of the deductions we'll use in this example, tells us if the employee has student loan deductions and which plan applies. So such as plan A or plan B, I've created a drop down for these two options as well for you. In this example, we will work with 5 employees, namely John, Sarah, David, Aisha, and Michael. The reason we do this is so we don't have to manually retype information every month. Instead, we'll link this data we have here in the sheet into our payroll calculations sheet, which makes the system scalable and much more accurate. One tip I want to give you. I will also recommend turning this into a table in Excel, so it expands automatically as you add more employees. Now we move on to the main part, calculating payroll. This is where we take each employee's salary and break it down into tax, national insurance, and deductions. In this monthly payroll sheet, I have added the following columns. For the employee details and earnings section, we've got employee ID, employee name, annual gross salary, and monthly gross salary. The first 3 columns will get the data from the staff setup sheet as we've done in the sheet before this. Please take note of the formulas I have used here. All these formulas are included in the template, link below. I will now talk you through the columns that follow and show you step by step how to calculate each. To calculate the monthly salary, we simply divide the annual salary by 12. This gives us a consistent monthly payroll figure. Then we just drag down the formula. Now let's move on to the payroll calculations and deductions section. We then calculate pension contributions based on a percentage. The data needed we will get from the staff setup or data sheet. Generally, employees pay 5% towards the pension, but with this example, we've got a few who pay slightly more. I use the XLOOKUP formula for this example. We just use the gross monthly salary and the staff ID and get the percentage from the staff setup sheet based on the employee ID. Taxable salary is gross pay minus any pre-tax deductions, like a salary sacrifice pension. This is the amount we use to calculate pay as you earn. Next, we'll calculate the PAYE tax or pay as you earn tax. In the UK, we use a progressive tax system, which means different parts of your income are taxed at different rates. So for the 2026-2027 tax year, the first 12,570 is tax-free, then up to 50,270 is taxed at 20%, then between 50,271 and £125,140 is taxed at 40%. Anything above 125, 140 is taxed at 45%. So in Excel, we need to apply these bands step by step. This is why the formula looks slightly longer, because we are handling each band separately. So we will use the if formula for this example. Please take note of what I am doing. Please write down this formula if needed. Pause the video, yeah, rewind, whatever. And then once we are done with this formula, we drag it right down to the last employee. You may see a few pence difference. That's due to HMRC's rounding and cumulative tax rules. This model is a simplified monthly estimate. Next is national insurance. This is calculated differently from tax. It's based on thresholds per month. So for employees, there's nothing below £104,750, and then 8% between 104,750 and 4,189, rounding off obviously, and then 2% above that. This is one of the most common mistakes people make. They apply the percentage to the full salary, which is incorrect. If we look at Michael's NI calculation, you will see that I use the max Excel formula and use the monthly gross salary and compare it to the 4189, which is the monthly limit where employee NIC drops from 8% to 2%. So we cap the main calculation here. Then we deduct the 104,750 and multiply it by 8%. Then we do the same for the 2%, but remove the primary threshold of 104,750. You can also include other deductions like student loans, if needed. In the list sheet, you will find the student loan thresholds, and the calculations are based on which plan the employee has. And you'll find that information in the staff setup sheet. Please take note of the formula used in this template. Before we move on to the employer cost section, we have to calculate the net salary. This is what the employee actually receives after all deductions. Use the taxable salary, less pay as you earn, less NIC, and other deductions like the student loan in this example. Let's move on to the employer cost section. We will first calculate the employer national insurance. This is very important for businesses because it represents the true cost of employing someone. For the 2026-2027 tax year, the employer NIC is unchanged as at 15%, but only on earnings above £417 per month. So again, not on the full salary, only the portion above the threshold. In this example, we'll use John's monthly gross salary, less the 417, and multiplying that by the 15% employee NIC contribution. We get 312.45, and then just drag down that formula. Let's look at the formula for the employer's pension contribution. This formula calculates the employer pension using the UK auto-enrollment rules for 2026 and 2027. We are taking 3% of the qualifying earnings, not the total salary. So first, we cap the salary at 4189 per month. Then subtract the lower threshold of 520. Anything below 520 is ignored. Finally, we apply the 3% employer contribution. This ensures the calculation is fully compliant with UK pension regulations. This total employer cost includes the employee's gross salary, plus employer national insurance and employer pension contributions. This gives you the true cost of employing each staff member. So just to summarize, gross, pre-tax, tax, NIC, deductions, and then net. This is the full payroll flow. Before we move on to the Payslip Generator, if you want me to build this payroll system tailored for your business, just click the link below and let's get started. Or if you want this exact template, you will find that link below as well. Now that we've done the calculations, let's turn this into something useful, a payslip. It includes all the basic information that your small business will need for payroll purposes. Let's hide these columns and get started. In the first section, you'll find the employee information, like the names, staff ID, tax code, payment method, tax period, NI category, and payment date. I've used a drop-down list for the employee name, payment method, and the tax period. For the staff ID, tax code, and NI category, I've used the if error formula and pulled the data from the staff setup sheet. As you can see, we took the employee John, and the ID comes back as 001. If we choose a different employee, all the other details will change as well. I've used BACS as the payment method. This is the most common payment method, but you can add to this drop-down list if you have more than one payment method. In the second section, we'll look at the employee's earnings. On the left, we have the basic pay, overtime, bonuses, or other pay, and then the gross pay. For the basic pay, we will use the XLOOKUP formula. Please take note of this formula. but it will all be built into this template as well. Now on the right-hand side, we'll find payee, NIC employee, pension employee, student loan, and other deductions, and then the total deductions. We will also use the XLOOKUP formula for these fields, as shown here. Only the last part of the formula will change to accommodate for the column we are looking for in the monthly payroll sheet. The total deductions will be calculated automatically as you enter your desired figures or formula. Moving on to the third section, we'll look at the net pay. To calculate this, we will take the gross salary in the sheet and deduct the total deductions. We can compare this amount to the payroll sheet. On the right-hand side of the section, we find the employer cost. We'll use the same formula used in the earnings section. When we calculate the total employee cost, we take the gross pay plus the employer NIC and pension, as shown here. You can compare this to the monthly payroll sheet as well. In the last section of this payslip, we have notes. This is quite useful to add explanations. So in this template, I've added employee pension and student loan reduced net pay. Employer NIC and employer pension are shown for information purposes only and must not be deducted from the employee net pay. Now, if we change the employee name, we can see how everything else changes in this payslip. Remember to get your template for easy payslip calculations below. Finally, let's build a simple dashboard. This gives us a high-level overview of payroll. At the heading, we have Payroll Dashboard 2026-2027 and the month and year. I've created a drop-down for this information. In the section below, we have the employee deductions from the monthly payroll sheet and total employer cost. Here we pull our data straight from the monthly payroll sheet with easy-to-use formulas. So, for example, if we take the total employee pension tab, we just collect the total from the payroll sheet at the bottom of the employee pension column. These cards summarize the entire payroll process, from gross pay all the way to employer cost. Below this, you can also add charts to visualize salary and deductions. This is especially useful for business owners who want to understand where their money is going. So for this template, I've used the pie chart for employee deductions and a bar chart for the employer cost. All the info you will need for these charts has been transferred to this dashboard sheet at the top here, so it will make things easier for you and your business. Remember, this template is fully editable. If you want to use this exact template, you can download it using the link below. If you found this helpful, please consider commenting below and don't forget to like and subscribe.